Okay, finishing up with the bicycle thief. If you just watch that video about what would you do, uh, uh, did you notice that that a lot of the time the people who are most angry at the young black man being a thief are older white men. So it's not that they're racist men. It's that they are responsible. They're responsible people, and they're trying to police people who need to be policed. So it's not a sense that they're racist. It's that they're responsible, and they feel like they're responsible for this guy's behavior in ways that they're not responsible for the white kid, the young white man who's also a professed thief. They figure he doesn't need to be policed, and so they're not responsible for him. So there's a source there of maybe some kind of love, if a little bit tough or lacking in empathy. But it really has to do with their own identity. And the proposal that the guy's a thief when he says, "Oh, I forgot my key. This is my bike. I'm not stealing it. I just forgot my key and I can't get it off of here." Then the same kind of guy, older white guy, bald guy, looks very much like me, except skinnier, helps him lift his bike off the pole. He's a very helpful, responsible older guy. So what we're looking at here is racism without racists. The whole point is that no single person has explicit racial animus. They're not there. It's not from hate. It's not from white supremacy or members of the Klan. Talking about the using the N word and all that. It's not that. It's not the racism is not individual racial animus. It is institutionalized racism. The problem is that the U.S. Supreme Court rejected this argument, and so you cannot claim racial bias unless you can prove individual racial animus. The only kind of racism that the courts are interested in finding is the Klan. They don't care about people who suffer the effects of racism if there's no racist person who's doing it to them. Then the courts are silent. And so this is a real problem in America due to our Supreme Court and a few key decisions in the 80s and 90s. In any case, so that's what we have. We have racism without racists. This cumulative effect of policies, systems, and processes that may not have been designed with racism in mind, which have the effect of disadvantaging certain racial groups. So we call this institutionalized racism. You have people from the wrong zip code paying higher insurance. Why? Because they live in that zip code, and that is, the people who live there are associated with higher risk. Why? Because it's very cheap to live there. I remember when the volcanoes in Hawaii. The volcanoes are coming and they're burning up people's houses and just tearing up their cars. And you see the car just burst into flames as the lava spreads around them. You wonder why would someone live there? And then you look and it's like it's really expensive. Housing is really expensive in Hawaii, and that's the cheapest place to live. That's where the poor people live. That's what happens. And that car got burned up. It's like living in a flood zone or living in a place that's got high pollution levels or whatever. That's why it's cheap, is because nobody else wants to live there because it's dangerous, and it's poor people are exposed to danger and threats more than people who aren't poor. School funding based on the property home ownership, property prices, um, and very expensive homes yield really, really high funding levels for schools and nicer stuff and better equipment and better teaching and all the rest. Majority black neighborhoods are poorer than majority white neighborhoods. These characteristics get associated with blackness, thereby supporting the stereotypes that inform the practices that continually recreate the structure of segregation. This is it's an endless cycle, and it's really hard to get out of, but recognizing that it's there and why it comes is the first step towards solving it. Biased beliefs and practices are only part of the problem, okay? So that's why we say beliefs, practices, and institutions, right? Racist people can have racist beliefs and they can just grit their teeth and not do anything about it. Um, Racist practices can be made illegal by the courts, but until we talk about institutional racism, we run the risk of missing the powerful structures that underpin the beliefs and practices and that continue to reinscribe race unfairly into American society. And that's the only way we're ever going to change the social structure. Okay, thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.